Well, hello there. Welcome back to another Inheritors mechanical video. Inheritors is my new tabletop role-playing and skirmish system, which is up on Kickstarter through the end of October, early November of 2023. And then in the spring of 2024, it will be available on DriveThruRPG. So depending on when you're watching this, you might be able to back it on Kickstarter. That would be fantastic. There is a link in the video down below. But in this short mechanical preview, I'm going to show you how the enemy logic system works. Enemy logic is critical for Inheritors functioning the correct way because this is a system that is supposed to engage the whole table, all the players, and allow you to have a game night without a DM. Not that we don't love our DMs, but that we pity their endless shackling because they have all that cosmic power in an itty-bitty little space. And I know that because I have been that DM for like the last 10 years, trading on and off with one or two other guys. And I would like to have the full table fun too. So I built Inheritors to allow DMs to escape from their cosmic prison. Inheritors uses an enemy logic system in order to run the enemies so that you can trade on and off playing with your heroes. Sometimes you'll be playing a monster, sometimes you'll be playing a hero. In this case, I have my buddy's model that we made on Hero Forge. This is he's the bigger brother. He's one of the INHERITORS clans, although I'm not going to lie, I can't remember his first name. He's just Big Bro. He's the responsible voice of reason in our party. I've also got a number of different enemies for teaching purposes. So we have some hyenids here that have bows. I have a hyenid who has just a nasty looking sword with serrations. I've got some undead, and I have my down on his luck, bet his shirt at the bar warlock that we printed off from the Dark Souls tabletop role-playing game. By the way, Inheritors is minis agnostic. I don't have official models. If that ever happens, that'd be dope, but I don't have those skills right now, so it's minis agnostic, and you can bring whatever it is. If you want to play with a Space Marine, you play with a Space Marine, as long as it makes sense and everybody knows what you're doing. So, when it's not your turn to run your hero, you are going to be stepping in to play the monsters. Alternating activation means there's always something for someone to do, and in the grander scope of a full table, there may be multiple conflicts going on. If we dive into this particular conflict, though, we can see we have a variety of enemies that might activate. The enemy logic system tells players, without having a DM mediate, which should go first. In fact, it can be boiled down to 4 very low-tech principles. Don't worry, there's the nice version of it. 4 principles that govern the enemy AI system for cinematic dynamic battles. First of all, revenge first. If an enemy unit was attacked by a hero unit in the immediate past, then that enemy unit would activate to deal revenge. Then, if nobody was recently attacked, which sometimes happens at the beginning of a round, then we go to fast beats slow. That's the idea that no matter how fast you run at the enemy with your sword over your head, arrows will get there quicker. So, by the way, will lightning bolts and fireballs. So that means that I would tend to prefer to select an enemy that has a ranged attack before I pick an enemy that has melee only. Excepting, of course, moments where maybe I have a teat going there, and those two guys would attack. This guy would activate underneath the revenge first rule. After we've dealt with all of our ranged and spellcasting attacks that might happen in a scene, then we would close in for melee. So that's where this guy would activate and push in and attack. And finally, the last one, scurry. So that's for the creatures that can't otherwise get into combat. They would do one of 2 things. Either they would close on an objective of some sort, if that's relevant to the game mode. So these guys might move towards this to consolidate here, or they might move towards the hero, depending again on the game mode. So the zombies can only move, I think, 4 inches. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's say he can get to here. He can't close. And depending on how hard I want to make the game, I might allow that enemy to use its second action to move again. But it depends on how you want to modify the game. The rules are there for you to do either. So if we back this up, let's rewind really quickly. I'll put the words on the screen as we go. Revenge first. So in our little scenario, our inheritor has been duking it out back and forth with that great halberd of his. He's dealing damage to the hyenid. We'll call him a reaver. The reaver is going to strike first as the enemy logic goes. Then probably our down on his luck wizard might do something. Whether that's raising another zombie to add to his horde, or if it's casting some sort of spell at the inheritor or a buff on his party, he might do that. And depending on the creature tags, which we'll get into in the next video, he may or may not close, or he might be avoidant and keep his distance. But we'll talk more about creature tags in the next video. After him, then we've got arrows. So our archers, one of our archers would activate. And then finally, we'd have our scurriers, who would do their best to close, but they're not going to be able to quite make the gap. Now, of course, this is alternating activation, so if I grab a couple of dope smoke beards and throw these guys in there, these are the followers of my buddy's inheritor. Then, as let's say this guy activates to attack back, one of these guys would activate and maybe try to pick off a zombie, and then we'll say the spellcaster is going to go. He's going to raise that zombie back because he wants his gang here, and then our archers might shoot, and they might even jump down and get into melee combat if I think that's role-playing, if it makes sense. And then finally, once all of these guys have taken their turn alternating activations, then probably my scurriers, those that are still alive after facing down the gun line, then they probably would be getting into the combat. So that's how alternating activation works with the enemy logic system. It's very simple, and we really distilled the rules down to the barest, simplest possible version that is dynamic, so that as you're playing, you don't have to have a separate set of rules to tell you how each enemy should behave in each scenario. It's just these 4 principles, and attached to the creature tagging system that allows you to know, okay, well, how would this high-ended reaver act? Then you're really going to be able to role-play the enemies out in a way that's very fun and presents a tactical challenge for your buddies on the battlefield. So it makes running the enemies really fun. So revenge first, fast beat slow, close in for melee, and then scurry. That's it for the enemy logic system. I know it sounds simple, but it actually goes pretty deep. And once you get operating with this system, I really believe that you're going to be like, what the hell were we doing, wasting hours waiting for our turns when you could be busy stabbing your buddy in the head? It's way more fun. It's a great system, and I hope that if you're into it, you either pick up a copy of the book or that you back it over on the Kickstarter. That's it. I'm LR Knight. This is Inheritors. Stay fierce.